What up, heads? My name is Chuck Reeves, and this is the homie.
I'm Justin.
And we are here for episode number 3 of 4R Consideration. Today, we're doing a little bit of a special motherfucking episode. One of the first things me and the homeboy ever bonded over pop culture wise, the book Ready Player One is being turned into a movie. We've talked about it plenty before, not quite on this show, but definitely over on the motherfucking Beard Speaks. And today's 4R Consideration is about nothing but
Ready Player One,
which he's got on his motherfucking chest. Over the past weekend, we got an exclusive first look, full-length trailer, I guess from Austin, Texas.
Yeah, they did a Comic-Con down there. Ernest Cline was in the building. He did a Q&A, and then they premiered the trailer. They dropped a lot of information about this upcoming movie. He dropped even more information that no one was expecting about being a sequel to the book. We're going to get into a lot of this. There's going to be a ton of spoilers because I've read the book a bunch of times. He's read the book a bunch of times. And we're just going full blown out. So
if you have yet to read the book, or you have no interest in this at all, or you have interest, but you want to make sure we're not going to spoil anything for you from the literary perspective, definitely, you may want to go check out the book and then come on back and watch this video. Because today, we are going to watch that brand new trailer for the movie Ready Player One, due out March 30th, 2018, directed by Steven Spielberg. We're going to do some scene analysis from the trailer from a plot and character perspective. We're going to discuss some character cameo special features and Easter eggs. Anybody familiar with the property known as Ready Player One knows it is chock full of pop culture cameos from the 80s and the 90s and from the way it looks now
everything
into the 2000s. And then we're going to give some general plot discussion and potential possible and confirmed differences between the plot points within the book that we've come to know and love and these plot points that are being slowly explained through these trailer releases. So, if you don't like trailers, if you don't like spoilers, rather, get the fuck on out of here, because this ain't the place for you.
A bunch of shit.
But right now, your ass is safe. Right now, your ass is a little safe. We're going to go ahead and bring up this trailer. Like I said, we're going to watch it. We're probably going to watch it more than once in its entirety. We'll probably just let it play out this first time. Let everybody kind of grasp some shit. Maybe just give you some oohs and some ahs and maybe some thumbs up of stuff we're excited with. We'll go through it a second time. We'll do some pausing. Then we got some screen grab shit to go over with you. And then we'll do some discussion. We hope you stay with us.
I think personally I've killed about an hour of my life watching this trailer back to back to back to back.
And I've definitely killed more and more time than that reading this book and becoming very familiar with this story. In my opinion, this is, if not the most anticipated movie of 2018, then definitely one of the top 3 most anticipated movies of 2018.
Especially when we got in 2018, we already know that we're getting another Star Wars anthology. We're getting a brand new Jurassic World. This is in the top contender, if not one of the top runners to
for highest grossing movie of the year.
Exactly.
For sure. But let's get into this real quick. Warner Brothers Pictures and Steven Spielberg present to you Ready Player One.
Now, from my understanding,
my name's Wade Watts. My dad picked that name because it sounded like a superhero's alter ego, like Peter Parker or Bruce Banner. But he died when I was a kid. My mom too. And I ended up here, sitting here in my tiny corner of nowhere. There's nowhere left to go. Nowhere. Except the Oasis. A whole virtual universe. People come to the Oasis for all the things they can do. But they stay because of all the things they can be.
Can you feel this?
Yeah. It's the only place that feels like I mean anything. The Oasis was the brainchild of James Halliday.
Hello. If you're watching this, I'm dead. I created a hidden object, an Easter egg. The first person to find the egg will inherit $500 billion and total control of the oasis itself.
Who is this Parzival, and how the hell is he winning?
Find him. This isn't just a game. I'm talking about actual life and death stuff.
The oasis, the world's most important economic resource. It's nothing less than a war for control of the future.
Welcome to the rebellion, Wade.
Hey, yeah, that was King Kong. Let's talk about it. That was a fact.
Like many of you, I only came here to escape. But I found something much bigger than just myself. Are you willing to fight?
Help us save the oasis.
You're gonna need to see at least 2 or 3 times in order for you to pick up on everything that's going on inside this trailer, let alone the movie.
And it is definitely the type of movie that will be showing its face in the retail market in probably about 9 different fucking versions, including hopefully an ultimate Ernest Cline edition that comes in a replica Ecto 88 fucking DeLorean and has the full-length 13-hour version of this movie that he originally set forth to make. All right. If you're not familiar with the story behind Ready Player One at all, and you've never heard us talk about this movie before, just a quick rundown and something just quickly to say about it before the spoilers stop. Before the spoilers start, all right? It's a very dense, character-driven book. There are tons of references. I think that Ready Player One may have as many, if not more, direct pop culture references than even a book like American Psycho, which literally the pop culture references in that book are the stucco that holds those fucking words together on those pages. This book, just as much. In this book, in the near future, there is a virtual world called the Oasis. People go to school there. People work there. People earn money there. The currency within the Oasis is the most stable currency in the world. Sound familiar? People go to school there. People would rather be there because the world sucks.
Everything in the world in this time frame of Ready Player One is basically the Earth is in shambles. We've already exhausted all of our fossil refuge.
We ain't got no ozone, fam.
They can't do anything. Travel becomes only available to those who have tons and tons of money.
Or if you got some ozone. So the creator of the motherfucking Oasis kicks the bucket, as old, eccentric, billionaire geniuses often do. And upon his death, and the fact that nerds oftentimes also don't have any kids, he holds a contest within the game, within the virtual world known as the Oasis, to find his Easter egg. His Easter egg being total control of the Oasis, and in the movie speak, $500 billion. That number is different from the book.
In the book, it's 240 billion. Still a very mass amount of money.
But we'll talk more about why they may have changed it when we get to that part in the replay for sure. And essentially, you've got regular ass people trying to find this egg, as well as a multinational corporation known as IOI, who are trying to gain control and gain the prize in this contest for nefarious, evil purposes. And then wackiness. Wackiness ensues, I suppose, is what you can say. So let's give this fucker a second viewing. I'm going to make sure I do some pausings and whatnot on this second one, and we can talk about some individual stuff. First off, Warner Brothers, like you said, I wasn't aware of that, but this is Steven Spielberg's first time ever working with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, they brought that up in the Q&A with Ernest Cline. Ernest Cline was talking about it. Whether that's an actual fact or not, I haven't done a lot of research into it, but if they're mentioning it in a Q&A during the release of this trailer, it's got to be at least somewhat accurate.
It's probably fucking completely true.
Because from what I understand is when Spielberg's doing movies now, he's doing them all in-house in his studio.
Now, the thing about Spielberg, for somebody like me, and definitely for somebody like him, me because of age more than anything, and this guy because he's a fucking movie nerd, very familiar with Steven Spielberg. If you're not, then you fucking don't know movies, or
you're under
the age of 25. Because if you're under the age of 25, you may not have memories of Steven Spielberg movies. Movies like E.T., movies like Back to the Future,
Jurassic Park,
fucking Jaws. Like this was a man who, with the work that he put on celluloid film, helped craft an entire decade. And with Ready Player One being a love note to those decades in which Steven Spielberg helped craft, him taking the helm as director of this film is an absolute marriage made in fucking movie heaven.
There's no one who could do it better.
In the book, Steven Spielberg is actually referenced several times, as are some of his films. A lot of the references are Steven Spielberg references, and one of the things I did catch in that Q&A, the post-trailer Q&A that came from Austin, was that Spielberg himself felt a little egomaniacal and a little megalomaniac-ish, putting too many of his own references in the movie. And that Ernest Cline and certain After Effects people, directors, had to sneak stuff in there behind Steven Spielberg's back, because Steven, trying to put the story of Ready Player One out there more so than, hey, look at all the stuff I did.
He kind of felt he was trying to humble it down.
Humble it himself, not realizing that even though he's crafting the story, him as a person...
He's already crafted the story more ways than he could have ever imagined, because he, if you think about it, because of all of his references in this book, he's probably one of the biggest focal points that made this book come to life.
Without Spielberg's movies in the 80s,
there
is no Ernest Cline writing the book Ready Player One. There isn't.
And one of the most iconic things we're going to see in this trailer would never have come to surface without Steven Spielberg, that being the DeLorean from Back to the Future. That's one of the most iconic cars you'll ever see, next to the Batmobile, next to the A-Team van, next to pretty much any movie vehicle you could think of. The Time Machine DeLorean stands.
Come on, man. Indiana Jones. He made Indiana Jones. But the idea that this is the first time he's worked with Warner Brothers doesn't surprise me. Spielberg comes from a day and age and is of a skill level and a box office acumen that I'm sure that he was one of these guys that Universal probably sold him on we want to sign you for 20 pictures. You know what I mean? They're going to give him the old man deal. But it's good that they're in this game. Warner Brothers, of course, did Harry Potter.
Yes.
So they are very skilled when it comes to special effects houses.
They do most of DC's things.
Not everything's going to be good.
My name's Wade Watts. My dad picked that name because it sounded like a superhero's all.
Now, I don't know how the Wade Watts thing's going to go and how Deadpool 2 may use whatever success. I'm going off topic here, but I don't give a fuck. Wade...
He's going to make a joke about it. Yeah, I'm the only famous Wade.
Something tells me that we may see a PG-13 trailer for Deadpool show up before this movie with very direct, very meta jokes, just based on this
being Wade Watts,
wonderful coincidence that's going on here with these names.
Alter ego, like Peter Parker.
All right, this area you're going to begin to see here from the book, this is known as the Stacks. This is where our main character Wade lives and operates in the earlier portions of the book. And what the Stacks are, you're going to see a very impressive shot coming up here of them.
Bruce Banner. But he died when I was a kid.
They are essentially...
My mom, too.
Double wide trailer, stacked on 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 double wide trailer. Repeat infinitum. All right?
Because they're out of room. They got to build up.
We've gotten to a point where overpopulation and shit has gotten so bad that we have to start going up into the sky. And from the looks of things, in 2045, building codes
don't exist.
This is exactly the way it is described in the book And this, what you're looking at right here, is the cover of most paperback versions of the novel Ready Player One, the stacks. This is the source and where our hero's story begins, and this is also the source of most of his misery.
Yep.
Right?
He lives there with his aunt, and his aunt doesn't really give a shit about him. They get food vouchers, kind of like food stamps, but because they got to help feed the masses of the poor and whatnot, they get food vouchers, and she takes them all.
Fuck that shit, man. You see that shit? They got a fucking. There's a fucking, that dude there got a garden.
Got a garden, yeah.
He got a garden on his shit, fam. I don't know what the fuck you talking about. We ain't got GMO foods in the future. Fuck you.
And
now the cool thing that I loved about when I saw the Q&A about this movie, they built these. They built some of them. Some of them are CG'd, obviously, but some of them built these out in London.
And that's amazing. And they probably built them to a far stronger code,
yeah.
far safer than
they
what
talk
was
about in
the book, for sure.
Here.
Now, here's the first.
Sitting here in my tiny corner of nowhere.
In the book, he lives in Oklahoma City, and he travels to Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, so I just picked up on that one too.
Yeah,
I didn't think of that.
He travels to Columbus, Ohio, so I think this is going to be a way for
that's
them
another
to
one
start the story.
No, that's just a way for them to condense
yeah.
the time. In the book, and one of the things I was worried about is that there are large periods, several chapters, of things that really, in the grand scheme of things, if you're for pacing purposes,
don't need to be in the movie.
They don't need to be there. You don't need to hear about his cab ride from the airport to his new place, which that was a chapter in the book.
Yep.
Now, the other information contained within that chapter, which is internal monologue on the character, can be handled cinematically other ways. And it looks like they do a lot of what I'm going to call cinematic transition, where something literal in the book is going to be shown in the movie another way. Just because if you tried to show it any other way, the shit would be mad fucking boring, kid. And this is the first thing that I think we're seeing that is contrary to the book. People out on the street wearing the
haptic goggles, the IOI visors, basically, that helps them get into the Oasis. And a lot of these people, they live on the street. In the book, they mention it being that they live on the street in here, and there's charging ports where they can charge their Oasis rigs, and they live close enough to IOI and or the gregarious, the GSS, Gregarious Games, so that they can get Wi-Fi, and because they're the biggest Wi-Fi based hubs in the world, essentially. GSS, who is Gregarious Game Systems, that created the Oasis, and IOI, the evil corporation that wants to take over the Oasis. IOI is the biggest hub for anything in the world. They own almost everything. They're kind of like Disney.
Now, in the book, the Oasis is described as a complete immersive VR experience.
Yes. That
the user can experience in a variety of different ways: touch, hearing, smell, the whole 9.5. What looks here to me, and I spoke to you about this before, was this looks more of an augmented reality situation, where whatever people are seeing through their Oasis goggles somehow interacts with the actual real world at large, which that is in direct, whatever you would call it.
Yeah, you could say contradiction. Yeah, you could say it's a contradiction to what's in the book.
But we do see some fully immersive experiences, and maybe that's just what it is. Your level of haptic experience is what...
Yeah, they can't afford the haptic suits and the actual haptic rigs.
Augmented reality,
so they have just visors, kind of like if you were to take your phone and put on a VR gear in today's day and age and play a video game with a VR. These are people that are living their lives in a VR world.
Nowhere left to go.
They're basically just living their life as best they can.
Nowhere.
There's some more of that haptic gear.
Except the Oasis.
See, I believe this is
a whole virtual universe.
So that's our main character there. I'm gonna pull that back a couple of frames. This guy here,
Parzival.
That is Wade. That is our hero. That is our protagonist in the story. That is our Charlie motherfucking Bucket, if we're to use the Willy Wonka in a video game,
which is actually
that some people have made, including you.
Yeah, you brought it up. He goes, "How could I make Willy Wonka into a video game contest?" And that he even mentions this in the Q&A he just did, and that's actually one of the coolest ways that I can actually think of to describe this book, this movie, and the contest inside the game. And there also are Willy Wonka references inside the book.
Now, we've started already to reach a point where we're seeing definitive, absolutely concrete differences between the book and the movie. What we're seeing right here is some sort of a race. We're going to talk about the participants of the race later, but the race itself is not in the book.
No.
At all.
It doesn't exist.
I don't even think the fucking word race is in the book at all. If I could Google that fucking shit right now, I would. Google that real quick. I'm not. I don't think you could. But if I could, I'm going to check that shit. But I don't even think the word race
the
is
only
in
race
that
is
book.
the
There
race
is no race.
to get the egg. That's the only race
you know
that
what?
they
Yeah,
mention.
that is, so yeah, the word's probably in there.
But
I'm
not a
probably being
physical race. It's more of a race in general.
Shit, that's like a big change in my opinion.
It's
because
something that
this is
it
a
threw
major
me off.
action plot point. It takes up a lot of the trailer action wise. There's certain things about this particular screen grab that we have already discussed, finer details of the potential plot points of this movie, and at this point I don't think it's worth talking about. We will be doing further future Ready Player One discussions, and at this point I'm not ready to even begin to speculate on some of the differences and some of the things we're seeing during some of these scenes. Hopefully with new trailers as time goes by, perhaps a game starts, which is what happened when the book got released. Hopefully we'll get some information. At this time, I have no other comment on what we're looking at right here besides there's no race in the book.
Yeah.
Just be aware of that.
People
There's the icon.
come to the Oasis for all the things they can do. But they stay because of all the things they can be.
Can you feel this?
Yeah. It's the only place that feels like I mean anything.
You can actually feel her.
The Oasis was the brainchild of James Halliday.
Hello. If you're watching this, I'm dead. I created a hidden object, an Easter egg.
They teach classes about Holiday in this
in
future.
the book, yeah, because he's basically like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, fucking Elon Musk.
Yeah, he's created something that no one else had ever thought of, and no one even dreamed possible. So,
and what you were seeing there was his basic video, Last Will and Testament.
Yep.
And as you can see, he said, if you're watching this, I'm dead. He explains to the entire world that he hid this thing in the game.
And this is how the book starts, actually. The book starts with
his death.
With his death and them saying every person in the world remembers where they were the day James Halliday died. Because
it was a huge event.
It was the biggest thing to ever happen.
So there's some sort of interpretation of an egg. Whether that is the egg, I don't know. It looks like perhaps there's a key.
Yeah.
There is a quote around the upper part there.
Kind of in the almost interlaid in the dome. It looks like almost a dome.
And that quote is from a book within the book, Ready Player One, which I don't even want to get into that shit yet, because I'm sure that's going to come up plenty as time goes on. We actually have a pretty long way to go to March, considering how much they spent on this movie. I'm sure the marketing budget is gonna be pretty insane. So we're gonna get tons of pre-hype and answers and tons of shit to talk about.
First person to find the egg will inherit $500 billion and total control of the Oasis itself.
Who is this Parzival, and how the hell is he winning?
Find him.
This isn't just a game. I'm talking about actual life and death stuff.
The Oasis.
is something that's going to come into a big play into the story.
I believe this to be. I mean, we might as well talk about it.
We can talk about that, yeah.
This, what we're about to go back to here. This here, there's a segment later in the book where one of our heroes, I don't even want to give that much away about it because I don't think we have to. Someone who's a main character in the book ends up in jail.
It's indenturement because he's in debt.
Yeah,
and it's like
slavery.
So anybody that has outstanding credit cards in the future can potentially get taken away from their home and put into a workforce where they have to actually work to pay off every bit of debt.
And imagine working in a cubicle, and also that's where you lived, eat, shit, pissed, played with your dills, picked your butthole.
You do everything in this tiny 4x4, 8x8.
Doing all your clipping your toenails, and you're in this box. That's what I believe that this is. Now, in the book, they transport him from a cell to a workplace. I think, once again, for pacing,
they're going to have everything.
This book is so dense that I'm literally thinking they went through it and said, you see all this? One line of dialogue fixes that whole thing. We don't need that hour. Because the book is very dense, and it's not written as a screenplay. It is written as a novel, as a full-bodied work of fiction. It is. I cannot stress to you how good it is. But let's keep it moving. That's cool to me though. Like changes like that.
Yeah, it works. It actually works.
I can't think
for the movie.
The writer of this co-wrote the screenplay with Spielberg and somebody else. I can't think that he would let them butcher what is going to become his fucking legacy, obviously. And potentially the highest grossing film ever.
The Oasis.
That is our main antagonist.
Our villain,
That is the head of IOI, the evil multinational corporation attempting to wrestle control of the Oasis from the independent and punkish Gunter kids, the Hunters, as they're called. What is his name?
Sorrento. The evil fuckwad Sorrento, head of Sixers.
In the book, the Sorrento character is almost military in his mindset. He's a general in charge of an army. The actor playing Sorrento in the movie has already informed everyone that character from the book is not the character he's playing in this movie.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking perhaps because the Sorrento character in the book wasn't actually the CEO of the company. He was one of the vice presidents in charge of hunting for the egg. Now, if you give him a lateral-ish move and you say, no, he's not that, that's too confusing. Because then you got to worry about who's his boss, who's directing him to be evil, and they, by extension are more evil than him. You can suck up 3 characters
and just make him
consolidate him into one. He's the CEO. He's the main fucking bad guy. Deal with it. And that there's no hierarchy of bad guys. There was a hierarchy of bad guys
in the book. Yes.
This is just your bad guy. Your composite bad guy. But once again, I ain't got a problem with that.
Yeah, it kind of makes them a little bit more simplistic to the story, because even in the book you have spoilers. You have Wade talking to Sorrento in a virtual chat link, and Wade doesn't talk to Sorrento. He even mentions, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people listening in on this conversation. You're irrelevant.
You're even going further than me and saying the consolidation of Sorrento as one character as opposed to a hierarchy of villains allows them to clip parts and condense parts in all sections of the film. Damn. I don't give a fuck. At this point, even with, say, the race, like I said, that shit can get fixed with one line of dialogue, fam.
Yeah, you can change things up.
And a lot of this shit has to be cinematic.
Yeah, it has to be visually acceptable for a movie. Instead of seeing a guy standing at a game cabinet hitting a button, you read my fucking mind. Spoiler alert again, in the book, the first trial he goes through to get the first key is he's got to play the 1981 arcade cabinet game known as Joust, made by Atari, which was one button and a stick. Okay? And there is a larger portion of 2 chapters
that is our main character standing next to an apparition
of a
playing this cabinet video game from 1981.
Yep.
That literally 3/4 of the people in the world today, if you saw the screen of Joust and what happens, you would not have a fucking idea what that was or what was going on. So I bet you they shit canned that.
Yeah,
completely.
they had to change.
I bet you there's
things.
no Joust in this movie whatsoever.
Well, no, we do see the birds.
We're gonna
in
have to
the first trailer we got.
Yeah,
The very
but you
first
can
trailer.
still see the birds, and it can be something else.
Yeah, but I mean,
definitely one of the forthcoming future episodes about this is we will have a full top 10 speculations. I'll make my list and he'll make his, because I got some speculations about what'll be in it, what won't, what certain stuff means, XYZ, because there's several things that we may see go down completely different in this motherfucker. We're only 3/4 of the way through. We better keep this shit moving, fam.
The world's most important economic.
See, and all this wearing of the VR and moving around in the real world, that to me is not the same as the way it is described in the book, where it's a fully immersive VR experience and people are staying in their homes. Now, this is what started the cinematic theatrical transition.
Yeah, you need to see different people moving around, doing what they're doing in the game. They kind of describe it in the book, but they don't really go into a lot of detail with it. But they have these things called haptic suits and haptic rigs,
and
where
people can just sit in their houses. It's your lawnmower man. That's an old fucking reference too, but it's your lawnmower man. It's your I'm running around in fucking VR but not going anywhere. That's not cinematic. You know what I'm saying?
They had to make it appealing to something to watch.
You're sitting there and 30% of this movie would be you watching people sit in chairs.
Yeah. Which isn't going to sell box office. Isn't going to break the box office. But when you take different
Sitting
things...
in chairs with dudes. Part 1. Part 2 next week. It's the Lazy Boy edition. Super boring. So I get it. I get it. I don't agree with it yet. I'm reserving judgment because, like I said, this is Spielberg.
See, I want to make a speculation of what we got on screen right here real quick. I think this right here is the IOI division of actual people going to take the character we talked about being put into indenturement from his home.
Or there is a period within the book that certain key figures that are involved in the hunt for the Easter egg are assassinated by members of IOI.
Because they want to win the contest so bad
that they're killing people in real life so they can't complete the contest in VR. This could be one of those strike teams that goes, and we might actually get an actual visual representation of the murder of Daito,
yes.
And that might be what we're seeing here. And we may also see something we didn't see in the book. A direct attack.
Yeah. They only mention it
on Wade, but we're actually going to see Wade interacting with those guys with another one of our main characters, which now I'm thinking that maybe we're going to have that period where as they start knocking off
see the
characters, we get to a scene where they try to knock him off, which is something we didn't get in the book.
So something that they mention a lot. They mention a lot of this in the book is that your identity is sacred to Dragaris Game Systems. They ended up winning a court battle.
Yeah, but they bought them out. They didn't. It's run by people. It's a system run by people.
But what they did was they took it to the Supreme Court and they won the right to keep all identities of their avatars complete secret. Now, what IOI is doing is they're trying to bribe by.
But see, that might not. But see, there we go. They might cut. I haven't seen anything of him sitting in a school. And to be honest with you, if you want to cut out the first 3 chapters, you don't have him.
Yeah, you can't have.
You
him
don't start him in high school
because
and have those scenes of him coming to grips, figuring out that first key location.
Yeah. See the reason,
and then all that, because there's literally, and this is good storytelling.
Yeah.
In literary form, but there's a chapter that describes a kid anxious about what he's about to go do after school, going through the rest of his day. And it's good in a literary form, but it's not, I can't see it being cinematic.
You couldn't do it in the movie part of it, but because...
But that's the thing, they might start the movie and it's like, well, point. Parsifal isn't, those things aren't.
So do you think maybe he might already be out of school at this point?
Yeah, because he also doesn't age. I want you to think about this. The events in the book transpire over a 3-year period. Okay, from this kid being like 16 to 19, right?
Yeah. Well, the contest...
That's not gonna work.
Nope.
I think we're gonna see a compression of a 3-year time span in the book with the change in cities, knock off 6 months.
Yeah.
With, you know, instead of say that he's not in school,
that knocks off a year.
Knock off a year. Whatever else. I think we're going to get a movie that covers a span of time between 3 to 6 months. Yeah. I don't think, because there are periods in the book that are literally like, Wade Wade sat in his fucking apartment again today.
Yeah.
And he didn't fucking shower.
He did a
there's a pile of food by the door that he didn't even want to eat. And it's been 9 months since the last time anybody made any moves in the contest, and then all of a sudden something happens.
See, the reason...
And somebody makes a move, which I don't, and that happens several times in the book.
Yeah, it does. And because what happens is that James Holliday made this contest so difficult in the book that he even mentions in
and the first move doesn't get made for 5 years. The
first thing doesn't
so
even
long
happen
that people forget what happens. Yeah, people forget what happens.
And they think it's a myth.
The first key.
They think the whole contest is a myth, that it doesn't exist, that the keys don't exist because no one can find it. People that have dedicated their lives to this. The Gunters dedicate their lives to finding Holliday's egg. And because it's taken 5 years, they really don't believe that it even exists, even though that there is visual and physical proof in the book with Anorak's invitation, which is the video that you see in the trailer of him telling everybody, I have died, and this is what's going to happen from here on out. And
there's something I'm noticing, and I'm sure it'll come up again, and I just want to say it now because I want to make sure I can say I was the first one to say it. There's a lot of graffiti I'm seeing, not just in the real world, but also in the Oasis. Lots and lots of graffiti. There's a big, like, yellow, what looks to be a mad ball during that first scene in the stacks. All right? I'm seeing what looks to be a crab with, like, a white target on it and some other stuff. See, I'm thinking that this is where stuff's really going to be hidden, because this guy hid something in the book. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're hiding shit in this fucking movie.
Oh, yeah. Ernest Cline is...
But we're going to get to all that crazy shit. I'm sure.
This is nothing less than a war for control of the future.
That's him convincing his board of directors that we have to take the necessary steps to win the contest. What we're looking at here is your composite bad guy, your Sorrento, carrying a pistol through a crowd of people who all, for the first time in the trailer, are disconnected from the Oasis. So I'm assuming, and I'm going to go out on a very thick limb here and say that this is towards the end of the flick.
Yeah.
Probably after the contest is over.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that because
he's going. I mean, it's very clear what this is.
Yeah, he's going after.
Because at this point, he's injured.
Yeah,
whatever.
It looks like he's gotten into some kind of altercation.
There's been some sign of showdown already, you know, and all these people are jacked out of it. So think about it. What happened at the end battle? Everybody, like pretty much everybody dies.
It's like in
their
Thrones,
virtual
fam.
form. In
Everybody
their virtual
dies.
form, everybody dies. Spoilers.
Stacks blow up.
So this is a plot point that we know for sure exists. IOI's destruction of Wade's home when they find out They find out his identity. They offer him a deal to work for them and hunt for the egg for them. When he turns them down, they blow up his fucking family. Now, in the book, if I'm not mistaken, when this went down, he was in his hideout in the bottom of the stacks. He's not in the bottom of that stack.
He's watching it blow
there,
up.
which makes me think maybe his hideout is in another stack.
Yeah, they might have changed different things about this, but I know when this happens in the book, as opposed to where this is
buried alive is not good.
No,
that's like that's the one thing in the book. It's like, man, you probably would have gotten buried alive, dude.
And the interesting thing about this is, in the book, they mentioned the structural stability of these stacks, and if one came down, domino effect.
Which I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do that. Some of the destruction in this flick in the real world, as far as in the book, the way it's described, is very awesome. And the way cities look and shit like that, I'm sure some of the aerials are going to be amazing. As you saw the shot of the stacks, I can't wait to see the shots of like the IOI central headquarters, like the hub.
There's 3 buildings.
Basically, the internet's house is essentially what this building is.
IOI 1 is the planet that they reside.
Yeah, like.
Welcome to the rebellion.
All right, there you have your female, the real version of her, of our, protagonist, his love interest.
Artemis.
Now, in this scene, she's got hair covering her right eye. Her right, my left. All right. In the book, this character, one of the reasons that she's in the virtual world so much is because she has a birthmark on her face. I thought they had removed it. But seeing things like this with her hair covering her face like that makes me believe that they left that point in the movie. And that is very important. Without the idea that certain people are in the Oasis because they don't like who they are, taking that away would take away a lot of the heart and the soul that existed in the book. The idea that you not being perfect is what makes you special. I hate to sound sappy and stupid, but that's what it is.
Wait.
All right, so we got more. We can talk about the other thing too. We're not going to talk about what you're seeing right now until I get to that screenshot. That is King Kong. All right, lots of graffiti again.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? This is some sort of tent city, and they're together.
Yep. See, now I have no clue what this is supposed to be about because in the book they do not.
What are you doing, fam? That ain't in the book, dog. Ernest, what you doing adding shit, fam? If you're going to be cutting shit, what you doing adding stuff? No, this obviously, possibly, could be taking the place of what we talked about before, one of those large periods in the book where Artemis and Percival break up after the party.
Yeah.
Now, that's like, what, a year?
Yeah.
A year, 18 months that they don't even talk, where he's emailing her and stuff.
And she's basically he's cyber stalking her, I guess you could say.
This could be taking that spot. The attack on them at the party could also have been a coordinated attack in real life, which could have drawn them together, led them to whatever this scene is, and that would fit in the time, in the timeline of this being their breakup. And look, he's beat up. It's obvious.
Yeah,
they've been in some
kind of struggle.
And right before this, his character, his avatar, saying, "It's not a game" or something.
Yeah,
this is like welcome to the resistance. There is no resistance in the rebellion. Book. That's new.
So.
Like many of you, I only came here to escape. But I found something much bigger than just myself. Are you willing to fight?
Oasis. Everybody.
Parzival. Addressing the entirety of the Oasis, all the users, the billions and billions of people, basically everybody in the Earth.
Because they're calling, it's a call to arms.
For the final battle, which,
which is what I'm assuming this shot right here is.
Oh, yeah. All these all these things that look like the fucking final scenes of Lord of the Rings, where it's just masses of Avatar characters.
And armies. Armies and armies.
Is this final battle that goes down between the users of the Oasis and the armies and troops of IOI during the final conclusion to this story. The big part about the battle at the end in the book is that is the most chock full.
Yeah.
Character-wise.
It's a historical battle. The biggest thing the Oasis has ever seen. They mentioned this a bunch of times. And what their purpose is they need help. They need help to defeat.
Yeah, and everybody
Sixers.
shows up, but the big thing is the references. This is the scene where you're gonna see
everything.
You're gonna see characters you forgot about. A lot of which, all the ones from this trailer, we got screen grabs of, and we're gonna get to. That's why we're kind of glossing over this part.
Help us save the OA.
So this is the end, and this is obviously that is standing behind Wade. There is the character named H, which I don't even want to spoil. You either know it or you don't. If you don't know it, I'd rather not give that away. I mean, but I don't even know how they're going to handle that because
it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting plot point.
It's good casting. I'll put it that way. And then where they are right now, we already had a discussion about that.
We've had some speculation.
As stuff goes along, I'm sure we're gonna have more. March 30th. I'll be seeing it in real D3D.
Oh yeah. Now I gotta ask you a question. That last soundbite, could you pick up on where that's from?
That's Harry Potter.
No, it's not.
Wait.
Play it again.
Wait, that last little bit there. Hold on, get my shit right. That's Back to the Future.
That is. It's Back to the Future.
Because of the car and everything. I mean, that's a Spielberg property as well. Look at that. Directed by Steven Spielberg. Produced by Steven Spielberg.
And we have the ultra-famous, ultra-talented John Williams doing the score for this movie.
Yeah, but I'm hoping they use a lot of... I like the usage of the 80s tracks.
Oh, they've already talked about he's incorporating almost everything he's ever done into this. So you're going to hear sound clips from almost every pop culture iconic 80s movie that we are like as I just said, Back to the Future's sound clips. You could potentially have a Jaws sound clip. You could have Star Wars sound clips if Disney allows them to do so.
Which they might have already, depending on how you take certain things that we're about to show you. Now, we just watched the trailer. There were several things that were very short that maybe you missed. We certainly didn't miss them. So we took a bunch of screen grabs during the last time we watched this prior to the show, and we're just going to pull them up, and we're going to discuss what's in them, talk about whatever characters or references they may show, and whatever clues they may be giving to the future of this movie. So this first one is from that race scene, all right? And if you look...
If you want to blow it up, blow this up a little bit.
I'm going to make it a little bigger, actually. Oh, wait. I fucked that up. Nope. There we go. Make that a little bigger. All right, so what we got here is race scene, race day.
Yep.
And in the race, just the setup, we have cars that are clearly marked IOI.
Those are all the Sixers.
And the Sixers, being the assholes they are the entirety of the race field, almost, as you can see. There's a lot of cars that say IOI. Now, littered amongst those cars are a few other cars, and some of the ones we were able to point out in this screen grab, if you look around, we have an unidentified vehicle here. If anybody in the comments can tell me what this car to the right-hand side here is.
Now, my speculation is it almost looks like Dominic Toretto's vehicle from Fast and the Furious 7. But it could be a stretch. But then again, I could, like I said, I could be wrong. But to me, it kind of looks like
it's definitely fucking something because it's not an IOI car and it's definitely unique. If you go over to the left-hand side of the frame, you definitely have an identifiable vehicle there in something from my childhood, something that a lot of you young cats may not know about. That is the Mach 5. That is Speed Racer's car. If you're not familiar with Go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go. He used to drive around with a fucking monkey and do all sorts of weird Japanese stuff. I miss that fucking show. I'm really glad to see something like that in there. And then if you go to the bottom of this frame, something literally right in front of our noses, something that
Unless
if it
you're
was a
looking
snake, it would have fucking bit me, but you can miss it. We have the 1960s OG open bubble top Batmobile as part of this fucking race. That's an amazing, amazing reference. So right there, we have two identifiable references from two different decades of pop culture and a third one possible.
And the great thing about this movie being made by Warner Brothers is they own the rights to
so much shit.
So many things. All these properties with DC. So you're going to see, as we're about to pull up, is another properties, a lot of properties of Warner Brothers.
Or Spielberg directly,
Spielberg
which was
too.
another coup that they had by getting this guy as the director, is that anything that Warner Brothers couldn't directly get their hands on through their own rights, Spielberg is the type of filmmaker and the guy with the history and clout within Hollywood that all it takes is a, hey,
I need
it's
this.
Steve. Hey, it's Steve, fam.
I need my intellectual property back.
Remember that thing I made for y'all?
You
I'm
made
a borrow it.
$1 billion
I'm a borrow it. You got a problem with me? No, I didn't think you had a problem with me borrowing it. So that's exactly what's going on here. All right, so that's two major references that I'm cool with.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty excited about both those. Both those references were not direct references made in the book, which means that they are changing certain references, which we knew they were going to have to. Anybody who read the book, there's no way they were going to hit every one of those references dead
it's
on.
impossible.
But they had enough flexibility and they had enough choices and options where I don't think it's going to matter. I really don't. What do we got here? Percival and his car. Percival's car in the book, identical replica of this, pretty much.
Almost. There are a little bit of differences that we can get into.
The 1981 DMC DeLorean, as seen in the movie Back to the Future. Now, in the book and in the movie as well, this car is outfitted with a kit.
Yeah.
Kit
It's
being
from
the
Knight
car
Rider.
from Knight Rider. So the car talks, and it also has the running red light in front of it. However, in the book, the plate number on the DeLorean was the same as Ernest Cline's actual plate number on his DeLorean, Ecto 88. In this movie, plate number is now Percival.
Which I'm sure it's for the. I'm thinking that's just for the
no,
race.
because he had his. That was his real thing. No, I bet you that's because it was his real thing. They said legally we can't use that.
Yeah.
Okay. The other change, something you brought up, the DeLorean that they talk about in the book has the logo from Ghostbusters on the side.
He basically tricks it out with almost every 80s iconic vehicle you can think of and tries to mesh it all together.
Mesh it all fucking together. Oh, hold on, let me go back. Oh, I can't even go back to that first image. The A-Team van was in that first image as well. I go back and look at that first image again. I already took it down. Go that A-Team van. If you know what the fucking A-Team is, man. Mr. T, B.A. Baracus. Fucking I pity a fool. Come on, fam. I know you all ain't that young. All right. So we got Percival's car. What else we got? We got
here we have the scene of
him going into a party. I'm not even going to get into anything else other than that.
No spoilers on that. Okay.
What I want to give you for this one is Percival passes two people on his way into this party here.
It's very easy to spot who exactly they are. We have Deadshot, actually Deathstroke. Deathstroke, and Harley Quinn,
both from the DC universe,
both owned by Warner Brothers.
Owned by Warner Brothers, which is the important thing here. It seems like we're going to see a lot of DC characters, and we're definitely going to see Harley Quinn at least one more time. However, she's going to be in a different form, in a different style,
and with a different character.
So it's from a different property. I don't know which property this Harley Quinn would be from. Probably the Suicide Squad one.
Could be Suicide Squad.
Given the fact that it looks like she's wearing the daddy's little monster t-shirt and who she's with. Okay? When we see her later, I'll tell you where that Harley Quinn is from because I actually know for a fact. This here is a scene involving our two main protagonists there. Our two main heroes. Percival here. Artemis here. Her avatar. Looking fly and sexy. Alright? But that ain't what I want to draw your attention to. Not these big swelled up purples here. Nope. But if you look behind the bitch with the big swelled up purples, you see a green gentleman with a large orange haircut. For all my video game fans out there, that is Blanca from the video game Street Fighter 2. Dope. Dope. I never in a million fucking years would ever think I'd be able to say the words, yo, man, that's Blanca in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible to me. You should be super excited about that as well. That shit's crazy to me, fam. All right? We're literally going to go about 2 frames past that one. All right? Blanca is going to come out of focus because someone is going to enter from the foreground, and we're going to focus on her for a hot second.
And yes, we did say her. And this person,
If
very
you look-
iconic.
If you look right here to the right-hand side of your frame, screen, area, to the right of Percival, we see a backside of someone very recognizable. Crop top, cargo pants, brown ponytail, and dual guns. That is, of course, none other than the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. Now, understand that these characters in this movie will not be indicative of the actual characters from these video games. What you're seeing here are people that use these characters as their avatar representations within the Oasis.
Yeah.
So when you see Lara Croft walk up, that's not Lara Croft. That's John Jones from fucking Oklahoma, and he just wants to be Lara Croft. So that's what he does when he's in the Oasis. It's kind of like the ultimate cosplay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right. What do we got next? Let's see. All right. So we got some incredible race footage, and right here we got 2 very awesome vehicles and a very unique reference that my co-host didn't know. And it may just be a symptom of my age, but what we have here, we got a motorcycle jumping across some sort of a gap there. The motorcycle you're looking at there is none other than the bike from the movie Tron, which was an 80s science fiction icon of a movie. A sequel came not too many years ago. That was fantastic.
Maybe 10 years ago at this point, at least.
Tron was a video game from the 80s, very successful. Awesome reference with this Tron bike. In the background of the jump, we see a blue pickup style truck with large tires. That, for anybody who is not a fan of the National Monster Truck Association of the South, that is the only monster truck that anybody really should know.
Bigfoot.
The incredible, edible Bigfoot, who, during the 80s, was the face of monster trucks. There was no Gravedigger.
Nope.
There was no other trucks. There was Bigfoot. All right. And then the other reference I picked out, there's several indications during the trailer that this race takes place in New York City. However, according to a sign located to the left-hand side of the frame here, that says Delta City, the future something something. Now, Delta City is a direct reference to the 1980s movie RoboCop. So, RoboCop being set in Detroit, I don't know if that Delta City sign being part of this race means that perhaps the race goes through VR duplicates of several American cities, or maybe King Kong's New York, RoboCop's Detroit, etc. Because that's the way the Oasis is set up. There is a
You can
planet
go anywhere.
There is a planet that is Twilight Zone episodes. There is a planet that is duplicates of every Dungeons and Dragons map you can think of. There is a planet that is every Power Rangers episode
Star Wars
playable
universe,
Star
Star
form.
Trek, Firefly.
So we literally could be looking at anything there, but you're looking for those small clues. And that Delta City thing is such an obscure fucking thing from RoboCop. I love it so much. I love it so fucking much. You see it on my fat face? You see my fat little face? Like, souped off this shit, fam. Souped off this shit. What do we got here?
King motherfucking Kong.
It was very blatant when we saw it during the actual trailer. There's King Kong. That is the Empire State Building.
Now, he's not referenced in the book at all, so I'm kind of curious to where
But
he
that's what
comes
I
into
mean.
play and what it's going to be about.
There are, see, as we work this out, my brain is making connections. Think about it in terms of this. Second Trial, War Games movie.
Yeah.
How about this is how they're going to get around that is you're going to race, but you're going to race through RoboCop's Detroit, King Kong's New York.
Okay. I can jump on board with that.
Godzilla's Tokyo. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how they're going to insert, still get the point across of we're inserting the characters into a movie, but without having to do it with the first-person perspective that is described literally in the book that we didn't know. Me and him had openly talked about and tried to figure out how they were going to do this thing in the book where they insert the characters into an existing film.
And they have to act out and do every bit of dialogue in exact moment and do exact every movement that the main character is doing.
But it's all described in the book from a first-person perspective of someone in a film. It's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
When you think about what you're trying to do there, it's impossible. There's no nearly
They're
about
not going to
it.
give you, okay, take our movie and put it in your movie.
Yeah, but there's not even a technology that exists to turn a 2D cellulite into a 3D, which is what you would have needed to do in this case. But by what we're talking about now, the race being RoboCop's Detroit, King Kong's damn, I can't believe that's probably what that is. I'm done theorizing.
No more
on that
speculations.
One. Not on that one. I don't want to ruin too much too soon for myself. All right, so we got the first of the big battle scenes
which
that showed up in
almost
the trailer.
looks like a Hoth type planet.
It almost looks like the ice planet Hoth from the Star Wars franchise, the ice planet. That would go along with what we were talking about as far as, different planets being of a different theme. Now, there's a lot going on here, and some of it ain't real clear, but what we know for sure and what we can pick out for sure. Center of the frame, foreground, what you have there is a somewhat obscure 1990s, technically rip-off, called Battletoads, running up in that motherfucker, if anybody remembers the Battletoads. If you head a little further right, about say 3/4 of the way across screen from the left, you've got what looks to be a Ninja Turtle, which is what the Battletoads were a rip-off of, technically. Very, very cool. If this is Hoth, then what we potentially have in the middle of the screen, not necessarily in the background, is a Tauntaun. However, I have heard that what we're looking at there is a character from Final Fantasy known as a Chocobo.
Now, in the book, they're on a planet called Athonia, which is Anorak, the creator's avatar, who is James Holliday's, home to Castle Anorak, which we have yet to see, but we know plays a major role
in the final battle. If they left that shit the same.
Yeah, if that is the actual same thing.
Yeah, if they left that shit the same. What do we got here? Oh, our second Harley Quinn appearance of the day.
And who is she with?
Trailer.
There is fucking the Joker.
And what did you say about that Joker?
That I don't even know.
You said that was a whack-ass Joker.
Yeah,
don't be trying to backpedal, motherfucker.
I don't like that Joker.
Say it loud, say it proud. Okay, he said he don't like that Joker. If anybody's familiar with the video game series known as Infamous, I'm sorry, not Infamous. Injustice, rather. These characters, this Joker and this Harley, are directly lifted from Injustice, which, strangely enough, is a Warner Brothers property. So make sure you go and you out and you buy all the assorted other accoutrements.
How many different Jokers will we see in this movie? That is
how many different Harley Quinns?
Yeah.
Joker's not even the fucking banging character right now. Harley is.
Yeah.
So I guarantee they're going to exploit that bitch 9,000 different ways. All right, here's another good. We got more battle scene stuff. Let me pull this up. In here, we've got some sort of a rabbit.
Yeah.
Creature
you
with a
thought
gun.
Was Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, I thought that was Rocket
so.
Raccoon. Whatever. We've got some skeleton army dudes.
Could be Deadites.
Could be Deadites. Could be Ghosts and Goblins. Could be any number of fucking things. center screen to the left-hand side, you've got a character, the chick with the blue light in her chest. She's from a video game called Overwatch. And then one of my personal favorites from my teenage years, rocking the leather spiky wristbands, the bitch of 1,000 kicks. They call her Chun-Li, motherfucker, from Street Fighter 2. Another super dope reference from my childhood, from my formidable years. This movie is going to be able to bring two distinct groups of people together. People born before 1990 and those born after. And I think I really see that, because there are going to be low percentage references.
Yeah.
Did you want a cigarette?
Cool.
That reference with Delta City is a low percentage reference. Low percentage. Which means not many people are going to get it. Because RoboCop is a very old film.
Yep. Even though they did a remake.
Obscure, but they didn't, it wasn't, I don't know if I think they might have mentioned Delta City. I'm pretty sure they probably did.
Now that I actually think about it, when just looking at that last screenshot right there, those skeletons, do you ever play Clash of Clans?
Oh, all right. Yeah,
they could be higher
and
renders of those.
I would definitely assume that the filmmakers approached independent game designers, independent movie makers, independent cartoonists, and said, if you'd like to be in this movie, we have slots available, because they literally had a contest for avatars.
Yep.
Do you remember that? They had a contest for people to design their own avatars for inclusion in the movie, just because they needed so many unique avatars for the film, and they only have finite resources.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys have been working for years on this movie already.
And another thing about this movie that I think what was a selling point to approach different people with different intellectual properties is, hey, look, we're going to put your character in this movie.
And it's going to boost the sales of their
It's almost a commercial
and it
for their characters.
Kickstart some other thing, depending on the type of scene they are in. What we're looking at here, I don't think it requires much explanation. I thought this was Voltron when I first saw it.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Ain't no lions in this motherfucker, though, upon a second look. This is clearly now a Gundam, just a plain one of your Gundams. So we're going to get some giant robot fighting, which is always fucking awesome. All my fans out there of the Japanimation, anime, hentai, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Quit fucking that girl with octopus legs. Quit doing that. She's just at school. Now, this one was really blurry, and it was hard to pull a very good screenshot from it, but I'm pretty sure
it's got to be Chucky.
Yeah,
it's Chucky.
We got a fucking 1.5 tall motherfucker with a knife stabbing people in the neck, red hair, good guy outfit. Charles Lee Ray, the man known as Chucky. Awesome. This is probably the third.
Yeah, I want to say at least the second.
The second or third major horror icon. We saw Freddy in an earlier teaser trailer
with H blowing him up.
Yeah, God knows what else we're gonna see. Probably a Jason.
I'm hoping for a Jason.
Well, Jason and Freddy are owned by the same company now. Yep. So those things. Michael Myers, perhaps a Leatherface.
Considering
perhaps a Pinhead.
In 2018, we're getting Halloween Returns.
We might get the direct branded version of the final scenes from Cabin in the Woods.
Ooh,
during this last thing. Awesome. Anybody familiar with Cabin in the Woods? They had a scene with a lot of generic horror movie icons. Instead of Pinhead, they had like Razorblade Head or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we might actually get to see like a conglomeration of a lot of horror movie guys.
Which I think is awesome, because that's another way to bring in another type of franchise. Not only do we have sci-fi, not only do we have fantasy, not only do we have video games, now we're adding in horror, which is awesome. It's going to be
a huge part of the fucking 80s.
Yeah, and 80s was the slasher freaking time. The biggest box office movies almost of the 80s were, a lot of them were slasher movies with Jason,
and I mean, this is what would happen. Think about all the people on the internet now that go by names like, I don't know, Child's Play Ninja. Of course that dude would be running around as a doll if given the opportunity in a full VR environment where he could just stab motherfuckers in the neck without fucking repercussion or consequence. We got one more image from the...
And this, as you can see, is
I'll make that big because he deserves to be big.
None other than fucking the Iron fucking Giant.
Now, we got some other things going on. It looks like we have some sort of landing vessel here.
Shit, yeah.
I mean, look at this. This is some Lord of the Rings, Return of the King level fucking full battlefield shit going on. And I'm hoping that this takes up a large portion of that final, say, 30 minutes of this movie.
Now, to give a little bit of a spoiler, in the book, Iron Giant is replacing a pretty major character, which is known as Ultraman.
But the problem with Ultraman is nobody knows who owns Ultraman.
Yes. They are in a lot of... There's
like 13 different companies claiming ownership of Ultraman right now. So it's when you have something like that, you either have to pay everybody or you say fuck it. So now, this is a perfectly acceptable, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of those things.
He's very iconic. And I'm wondering, because from the movie, if you don't... I don't know if you know this, but do you know who voiced the Iron Giant?
No, I don't.
Vin Diesel
voiced I know that.
Iron Giant.
But Iron Giant was a thing before it was a movie as well. And I think the book was the book before the movie? Was the book before the Iron Giant movie?
Yes, I believe it was.
So that's probably why we didn't see that character in there anyway. But that character fits a literary perspective, a comic perspective, a sci-fi perspective, and the giant robot perspective that we need for this final battle.
Yeah, you're actually going to see Iron Giant playing a major role in who he's about to go up against that I don't know if they were able to pull the rights for this either, considering who owns the rights. Should I spoil it? Should I say who he's going against?
Don't even bother. Don't even bother, because I'm hoping at some fucking point we get a glimpse of the big man. And if you read the book, you know who we're fucking talking about. Well, we'll let that one hang. We've been sitting here for over an hour talking to you about 2.5 minutes worth of fucking movie footage and a book that me and him read for the first time probably about a year ago.
Yeah, I only read it this year, and I've read it 10 times at least in this 1 year, because it is just one of those books you can go into, start reading it, and get just...
And it's full of unexpected twists. Into it. This movie is looking like it's shaping up to do the book more than just justice.
Oh, yeah. You know...
And as the future goes on, we will definitely be... This will be our
I'm hoping
most
for at
in-depth
least
shit.
2 more trailers, and we're going to see a lot. I'm hoping we're going to see a lot more of what's to come, more intellectual properties that we're going to see pulled into this movie, things maybe that Warner Brothers doesn't own particularly, I'm hoping, because we know Warner Brothers is going to dump as many of their IPs into this movie as that they possibly can, and pulling in those other properties from other companies like Universal, like a lot of these sci-fi driven independent movies that could potentially put their characters on a way bigger platform, which is gonna do wonders for these movies. Thank you.
They've seen the formula work.
Yeah.
These Lego movies, the Lego movie, and then the subsequent Lego Batman movie. To be more specific, these movies were completely full of pop culture references, ones that Lego had the licenses for.
Yes. And Lego owns a lot of licenses that most...
I wouldn't even be surprised if we were to actually see some Lego characters in this movie as well.
See the Lego Batman, which would be fucking awesome.
I mean, that's the way you get...
And that was who? That was Will and Arnett, right? That voiced him?
It's different. It's recognizable, but it's different from the last time it was in the movie. And it also triggers either the kid, it triggers the young adult, it triggers the 20-something, or it triggers the 30-something. And the references in this film...
This movie is going to be... the demographic for this movie is
everybody.
Insane.
It's everybody.
Anybody from my age to a younger age to his
8 through 80, blind, crippled, or crazy. Straight the fuck up. It's Ready Player One. My name is Chuck Reeves.
I'm Justin.
And you've been watching For Our Consideration.